and welcome to the OHIO podcast, everybody. This is an impromptu uh, show with Chris. The Wild
Yeah,
Man's with me
yeah.
tonight.
We're,
Hey,
we're not used to going off script, Eric. This could be
no,
exciting.
this is going to be a little different for all of you. Sorry for blinding everybody. The sun's hitting Chris's head and just shooting over here to this side of the screen, but no, I usually when we record, it's in the evening, and the window that's in my studio is dark, and so I will have that fixed for next time, just like we have the audio fixed for this time.
That was my
Wow,
fault, Eric. All my
it
fault. I take credit for it.
it's all good. We live and we learn. We only got really one bad comment from that, one snarky comment, but you live and you learn. Technology's not always our friend, but we are excited to be here, and we got to talk about the news that came down today because this is very interesting, Chris. Devin Brown is injured, has to have surgery on his finger. It doesn't sound like it is too serious. Sounds like he will be back and throwing this summer. That was what Ryan Day was confident
Mhm.
in. But I got to ask the question, does that mean that this competition's over?
You know, I think if you went into this thinking that Kyle McCord was the favorite, you might believe that it's over. To me, Eric, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. I do think that the competition was a close one. And if you listen to some of the comments made by Ryan Day, one person had asked him if we were going live with the game today, would Kyle McCord be ready to be your starter? And he was actually a little hesitant. Maybe that gap's still pretty tight there. I don't know. Maybe he's not trying to tip his hand. I've heard people mention already this is Joe Burrow, Dwayne Haskins 2.0. If you remember in 2017, Joe's hurt, kind of gave Dwayne the edge going into 2018. But honestly, I don't think that's the case. And let me tell you, I think this is, while you never want to see a player injured, I think this works to Ryan Day's advantage because he had been saying all along he wanted to name a starter coming out of the spring. This lets him off the hook. It really does. This lets him off the hook because, in my opinion, I truly believe that this is still a competition, and now he's not going to have to make a mistake till August. And I've heard it mentioned too that, it wasn't just Devin Brown versus Kyle McCord. This is Kyle McCord exceeding the expectations for an Ohio State quarterback? Is Devin Brown exceeding the expectations to play quarterback at Ohio State? This is as much a battle of them versus standards as it is versus one on one. So I don't think that this is over yet. I've said all along I kind of favored Kyle McCord coming into this, and I still believe he probably comes out the starter. However, I think it is still a competition, and I think this puts Ryan Day in a good position where he doesn't have to come out and name a starter yet. He doesn't have to worry about losing a guy to the portal who's just going to go and start somewhere in a few weeks. I think that again, it's a silver lining to a black cloud because we don't want the injury, but in the long run, I think it may help. Kyle McCord is going to get more reps. He's going to get all the first team reps at this point. You know that. Um, and I also think it's big because our number three guy is going to be determined and get his reps in too. So again, you never want to see anybody, especially somebody a kid who's got the future that Devin Brown may have, go down. But if it's just a few weeks, if it's something where he's going to be back throwing in the summer, if it keeps the quarterback competition alive, if it keeps him in with Ohio State for another year, then I don't see a problem with it. I wish him the best. I think he's going to be all right. He's already texted post surgery, is my understanding. Looks like he texted something out about 15, 20 minutes ago before we started recording. Did not get a chance to read it, but to me, that's a good sign.
This thing's over. I'm
You really think so?
it's this thing's done. It's we I think that there was a lot of political jockeying going on, saying the right things, trying to make sure that Devin Brown wouldn't leave and enter the transfer portal, and then you get stuck in a bad quarterback situation, especially if Kyle McCord gets hurt, and now you don't have a talented second guy there. And so he wanted to make sure that he did what he needed to do to make it sound like both guys are in this thing. And it does sound like it was a legitimate quarterback battle this spring because it sounds like Devin Brown had about 50% of the
Mhm.
first team snaps, along with Kyle McCord, according to what was seen by the media when they were allowed into practice and what Ryan Day had said. And so, that being said, I do believe that you are right, Chris, and that this offers Ryan Day the opportunity or lets him off the hook from having to possibly name that starter while also giving Kyle McCord all those first team reps. But I have felt since the beginning that there was Kyle McCord was just in the lead for several reasons because of his age, his experience, a little bit more experience than what Devin Brown had, his relationship with the best player on your team in Marvin Harrison Jr. all the way
The,
back in high
the
school.
best player in the nation, Eric. Just call it
You
what it is.
you keep telling me that. So I think that there was definitely the some boxes there that Ryan Day was wanting him to check, and he's been checking those off one at a time this spring. Now he maybe hasn't checked them off as quickly as what you would like to see, but he is checking those boxes off, and now without anybody there to push him for the next couple weeks as they end spring practice and they go into summer workouts before the season begins, I really think that those boxes are going to be checked a little bit quicker than if they both were taking 50% of the reps. And I just think Kyle McCord now, unless he has a setback of his own of some kind, he's going to be the opening day starter. And I think that they're going to break for the season and fall camp. They're going to break with Kyle McCord taking at least 75 to 80% of the first team reps, which is usually what a starting quarterback does,
Mhm.
anyways, because you always want to give that backup quarterback some time with the first team in practice just in case an injury happens, Chris. So I think it's over. I think Kyle McCord's your starting quarterback for 2023.
Well, and I've said all along, Eric. I thought he was going to be, um, even though I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here. And but I do believe that Kyle McCord. I've said from the beginning. I think he's got a swagger about him that Devin
Mm-hmm.
Brown doesn't have. There's that confidence, and you want a quarterback to have that air of confidence, almost bordering on arrogance.
Sure.
Um, and I think that I'm seeing. I saw that on Kyle McCord early on this year, right after he came back. Well, I can't remember the exact tweet right after, or right before CJ even had announced for sure he was leaving. When he said something basically effect, "It's my turn."
Right.
Um, and I think that as he gets all these first team reps, you're just going to see that grow. That swagger, that confidence is going to just grow more. I do believe that he is the starter coming out of camp. I have believed it all along, but I do believe that this still makes it a competition, um, if in name only. So,
Well, sure. You're right, Chris. There's no way Ryan Day is going to come out and be like, "It's done. It's over."
right.
He's not going to
If
do
they were
that.
both healthy, he wouldn't do it.
No.
So, but
Yeah.
this, like we said, lets him off the hook. It gives him the opportunity to say, I need more of a chance to really look at what Devin brings to the table before I can judge who should be our starter. This thing's going to go into August.
It's going to on paper
Yes,
on the depth chart whiteboard. Yes. But I'm telling you right now, this injury is I already feel like Devin Brown was behind just
I
the
agree.
given what we had already discussed, and this setback puts him behind even more. If for some reason, hear me out, Devin Brown is your game one starter in 2023, something has gone seriously wrong. I don't think it's because Devin Brown became that much better through his injury time than what we have in Kyle McCord. It's
Right.
because something bad happened to Kyle McCord. Whether he gets injured himself, or he's just terrible in practice, which we if that's the case, we would have heard that already. So
Well, and
this thing's
here's the
over.
thing: it's hard to judge who's at the quarterback position right now. We've said it for the last few weeks. It's hard to judge who's good and who isn't in practice right now because the offensive line has been so bad. That's it's kind of making it difficult. I shouldn't say so bad. They're being dominated by a very good defensive front,
Which one
and
is it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think
Probably.
I think we've got two young tackles out there starting. Well, and Fryer's not a super young guy, but as far as experience goes, it's been mainly in mop up duty.
Yeah, he's going to be a first time starter.
Um, Although I think last year coming out of camp, we heard that he was on the verge of breaking through last year. So this is his opportunity. I think Fryer's going to be okay. Um, but wow, I don't know. Is Taggart going to take over the top spot?
Sounds like he is.
Is Zen going to push for that back when he's 100% healthy? Um, the only thing I think we know about is the interior of that line, and it
Good.
sounds to me like the interior has been pretty solid.
Yeah, they're good.
So yeah, I think it's a combination. We have a couple of really good defensive ends, and we've got a couple of really young, inexperienced tackles. So between that and the fact that it's two hand touch in practice with the quarterbacks, I don't think you're really getting to see what it is, or what these quarterbacks are capable of. Who knows what might happen when Kyle McCord steps out and eludes a sack and makes a pass on the run, or because we aren't going to know because all that has to happen is a fingertip hit a quarterback and he's down.
Right. So
So
speaking of two hand touch or whatever they're going to play, it sounds like the first two series are thud, don't bring anybody down,
yep,
and then after that they're going to get the main starters out, and then the last three quarters is live action with your second and third string guys, which is similar to what we've seen in the past.
yes,
There's a handful of guys who are injured who won't play, and then there's a handful of guys who could play if they had to. Your Tommy Eichenberg, Julian Fleming, Emeka Egbuka. These are all guys who could play if they had to, but why? So they're not going to. So they're going to participate in the warm ups, and then, sorry, you're done. Um, so it's going to be a lot of the young guys. It's going to be a lot of the freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores. That's who you're going to see Saturday. A lot of names you're not going to be familiar with. But before we dive into all of that, Saturday in the shoe, the spring game, Kyle McCord. It's his moment to shine. There's no pressure of Devin Brown being there and outshining you now. Okay, you
right.
don't have to worry about that. I go back to, oh gosh, what year was this? 2018's I think it was 2018 spring game.
When Dwayne and
No,
Joe was out,
no, it was
or
Justin Fields
Justin
first.
Fields, you're right.
Justin Fields first spring game. He was
Wasn't
like
that 19?
was it 19?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he was 19 and 20. Yeah,
Okay. It was, yes, you're right. It was 4 of 13 passing, horrible day, and we all were like, okay, this isn't what we thought we were getting. So I don't want to overblow what
that turned
what
out okay, Eric.
it turned out great, right? Like so. I
Yeah,
mean, I still think Justin Fields is the overall best quarterback we've ever had at Ohio State as far as just overall talent. But that day, you don't want to take one day, one
right.
spring game that means nothing in the grand scheme of things and overblow it and overplay it to the point where you panic or you think he's the next greatest thing. You think it's Joe Theismann's now, the starting quarterback at Ohio State. We don't want to overreact, but this is Kyle McCord's opportunity without Devin Brown there to outshine him, to solidify himself in the mindset of Buckeye Nation of this is going to be our guy moving forward and can lead us back to winning a Big Ten championship, beating our rival, and getting us back in the college football playoff. This is his moment, Chris.
He goes out there though, Eric, and he's just horrid, just absolutely horrid. Does Ryan Day go into panic mode? Let's face it, it's on the table, Eric. We all know if Day loses again to that team up north, if we don't have a Big Ten championship this year, at least, it's going to start circulating. The seat's going to get real warm. Um, so does Day start to panic if Kyle goes out there and has a terrible game? That's the question. Now I'm with you. If he goes out and has an average game, maybe even a little below average or a little above average, we don't want to overreact. But if he just goes out there and he's 2 of 12 with 2 picks, does Ryan Day start to panic?
I mean, it's a great question because let me put it to you this way. Back in that 2019 spring game, he was asked about this, and or he actually might have brought it up in the press conference himself today. He said he was worried after that game. And now
Yeah,
obviously hindsight's 2020, he had nothing to worry about.
right.
So I think he learned from that, and I think he was preparing everybody with that statement of saying, don't panic if it doesn't look championship worthy Saturday. It is a process. You know, CJ Stroud was not the number one pick in the spring game of 2021. Okay. Kyle McCord is not going to be the number one pick of the 2024 draft in the spring game of 2023. It is a process. Now,
Right.
how that trajectory looks for him in his career, he's at the beginning point here now. Now, the advantage that Kyle McCord has had, and this is the question, and this is going to be different for anybody. He's been in the program for 2 years now, solid 2 years. So does that extra 365 days of work of being the backup for 2 seasons now, does that translate to him having a little bit better of a start in his first year as starter than what it was for Justin Fields, than what it was for Dwayne Haskins, and what it was for CJ Stroud? If he can have a first year Dwayne Haskins, first year CJ Stroud, first year Justin Fields in his first year, who cares what happens in the spring game?
If he has a first year of one of those guys in his first year,
We're winning the Big Ten, going back to the college football playoff.
and it may be the only year that Kyle McCord's the quarterback.
Yeah, because he'll be draft eligible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely hope that's the case. I do. I hope he goes out there and wins the national title and says, "I got it for you. Good luck. I'm moving on." I absolutely hope that happens. But yeah, I mean, it's just a very nerve wracking situation. We've got so many new pieces on that line that to have a new guy at quarterback is, I think, a scary thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of angst and a lot of nervousness in Buckeye Nation.
and I'll be the first to admit it, Eric. I am one of those people who has a tendency to overreact. So you may have to rein me in a little bit
Oh, I
post
will.
spring
Don't
game.
worry.
I don't know.
I
Um,
will.
this is my goal. I am giving Ryan Day the benefit of the doubt until Ann Arbor. As long as he doesn't lose before Ann Arbor, he's got the benefit of the doubt. But I'll tell you what, he goes right back on that hot seat for me that game against Michigan. So same thing with Kyle McCord. I'm gonna give that young man the benefit of the doubt. I think that he is. I think he's got the ability to be our quarterback. I think he's got the talent to be the quarterback. I think he's got the moxie and the swagger to be the quarterback. Now he's just got to go out there and show that he is the quarterback.